In-game live, all access. We are back talking Open Championship on a Sunday. I'm Charlie Hulme, the co-host of the Smylie Show, alongside Smylie Kaufman, who is out on the course right now at Royal Troon. I'm here hanging out with a guy who I'm just thrilled to see once again because Gary Williams, he's a partner and the lead, sort of face or host of Five Clubs Golf. He's a guy I absolutely loved producing for and working with at SiriusXM, PGA Tour Radio, and he joins us live now from South Bend, Indiana, where he's doing some work this week in support of the Underrated Golf Tour, which is a sort of a Steph Curry vehicle to create more opportunity in the game of golf. And they have the event a little bit later today at the Warren course, which Gary tells me is about a mile from campus. Sounds fantastic. An early Core Crenshaw project. Here's what I love the most about that, Gary. How many of the shows we worked on at PGA Tour Radio began with off-air in-break conversations where we're just nerding out on golf architecture, and we didn't even miss a beat. Here we are, right back doing it all over again.
Charlie, first of all, it's great seeing you. Great being with you always. You're right. I had never seen this golf course. I came out for a site visit right before Masters Week, and we were out on the golf course in snow showers. It was a classic, early spring day in South Bend, Indiana. But this is 250 acres protected by the Audubon Society. This is classic Parkland style golf, very different from what you and I are getting ready to talk about as far as where they're playing the Open Championship. But it's really neat to be here. And like you said, Steph has poured his heart and soul into the creation of this tour and creating opportunities for kids who have the aspiration at minimum to play college golf and to know that these kids are going to be not only playing here, but staying literally on campus for the next 3 to 4 nights, as well as getting a tour of Notre Dame Stadium under the lights tonight. I mean, how good is that if you're a 12 to 18-year-old kid?
It does not get any better. I mean, it's funny growing up in California and having parents that went to USC. I was on the other side of that rivalry, pulling for the Trojans, but always had this deep respect for Notre Dame and watching the Rudy movie and just the emotions that it feels and it brings out. So very cool that you're there doing that. And also, supporting this very, we talk about growing the game of golf. This is a tour that's actually doing that, creating those opportunities. So that is fantastic. And just to continue on the theme, Gary, we love doing the whole architecture, the golf romanticism thing. I just came back from Scotland for the first time, truly blown away, had an amazing trip with my dad. I want to know your sort of Scotland top 5 course list. And it could be no sort of set criteria here of like a top 100 list. I just want to know the 5 places in Scotland that you love the most to play golf.
Oh, gosh, whittling it down to 5, not easy.
Fair.
First of all, it makes me smile to think that you just had that experience with your dad. The first time I went to Scotland was with my father. We went, I played the Old Course for the first time with my dad. I played Muirfield for the first time with my dad, Prestwick, Turnberry, Troon, these great historic places. Muirfield to me, for a couple reasons. One, I think it is, I think it is absolutely the best when it comes to a championship venue. I also, when you play there and you play your own ball in the morning, go in, you have this decadent, gluttonous lunch, put
Yes.
your coat and tie on, and then you go back out in the afternoon and play alternate shot and zip around, and you sit in that great grand room looking out over Gullen Bay and the Firth of Forth. There's nothing like it. I'd put that one. I'd put the Old Course a very close second. I think Turnberry is majestic. I mean, I would put that third. Prestwick, just because of its quirkiness, I would probably put that fourth. And then 5, my gosh, there's a lot that I would put kind of in a collage of golf courses. Troon is very, very good. Mm-hmm. I'm going to give an ode to something that's new, and because it's so good and new, I just have amazing appreciation for what Kyle Phillips did in creating Kingsbarns. I just, Charlie, it's not easy to take up residence in that neighborhood and build something that good. And I'm leaving out places like North Berwick, and Gullen, and I can go on and on. I think Kingsbarns is a testament to if you got the guts to build something right in that neighborhood and you pull it off, you should be rewarded with the accolades, and he deserves it.
Gary, quick on-air production meeting. I realized we just brought you on a segment earlier than we were supposed to. So we're going to chat in the break, see if you have a few extra minutes to hang. And let's hopefully we'll all see Gary Williams on the other side of this break. Stay tuned. We're back with In-Game Live All Access here today, continuing to discuss the Open Championship and all things golf. I'm Charlie Hulme. I'm the co-host of the Smylie Show alongside Smylie Kaufman, and I am happy to report that the in-break production meeting worked. We have Gary Williams. He's still here. He's graciously decided to stick on with us. And Gary, let's pick up right where we left off, because I was thrilled by Kingsbarns. We were talking a little bit of Scottish course, Scottish architecture. Kingsbarns was the last course we played on this trip, and the weather report looked so bad that day. It's our 13th round in 8 days, and I'm just thinking, all right, I'm just going to go to the golf course and just sort of slap it around and enjoy the scenery with my dad, and then we'll just hop on a plane and head on home. Ended up shooting the round of my career. Had a little 2 under 70, and now Kingsbarns will forever have a special place in my heart. In fact, I think, let's see, if I turn the proper direction, got the little flag up here too. So shout out to Kingsbarns. That place is amazing. But I love the list you kind of put together there. I wasn't able to play all of those on this trip, but was delighted by Prestwick. I thought it was so fun, so quirky. And this is truly, I mean, on the topic of links golf, it is something that if you love the game, you know, me for the first time going over and experiencing that, I encourage anyone who loves the game to do the same, because it's such a different style of golf. It is so, there's so many different things you're factoring in. There's something about showing up on a range, and instead of doing the customary, let me get my lob wedge or my sand wedge out, pulling out a pitching wedge or a 7-iron, or just seeing how the bumper run, you know, kind of calibrating that a little bit every single day. I just was thrilled by the whole experience, and it's cool to have your insight as someone who's played over there much more extensively than I have.
It's like you said, the ground is your friend over there, where in the United States, it's such an aerial game, and it really kind of gets disinteresting over here when the ball gets in the air, because you know essentially when the ball lands, that's the result, not there. Over there, the result is just beginning, because the curiosity of where the ball is going to bound and trundle to, and all these crevices and all these knolls. And the great writer and designer Robert Hunter said that contour is the essence of golf. And I know Ben Crenshaw feels the same way. And I think the best time to see contour is late in the day with the light being softer. And there's nothing like it. And of course, you know, when you go over to Scotland in spring, summertime, the days are so long, and you can be out there at 9 o'clock at night and you still have 90 minutes of daylight. In 13 and 8, Charlie, I'm very proud of you. You and your old man went, you know, heavy 36 whole days, which is what, you know, early 90s I was doing with my old man as well. They're the best memories you could ever make.
It's really and truly trip of a lifetime, and by far the most special part was sharing that with my dad. But I am not proud to report that he was doing a lot better at the end of the trip than I was. I was the one who was hurting a little bit. I wish I had another pair of shoes. I need like some Normatec boots or a deep tissue massage. He was just bopping up early in the morning every day, having his cup of coffee, ready to go at it again. So truly stuff of a lifetime. And that's the other part I'd add to that is if you're going to go and you're going to do a trip like this, do it with someone you love and who you can share these memories with forever. And the father-son thing, as a newly minted dad, you know, a couple years ago, it has a different sort of weight to it. Understanding what it means to be a son to a dad for the first time, not only just being a dad, it gives you that extra perspective. So very cool stuff. And Gary, talking a little bit there about the contours and the difference of this test and just parlaying that right into a discussion about this week at the Open. You know, I think a lot of us were astonished to see who got left at home, who did not make the weekend. And so just talking about those big name cut missers, and there were obvious sort of surprises where Rory had the shortest odds entering the tournament. We all felt like this test was pretty perfect for Ludwig's, you know, style of game. But who surprised you the most from a grit standpoint, maybe, where, you know, this Thursday and Friday took a lot of grit to make it through those conditions? And, you know, seeing the guys that missed the cut, who to you was like, wow, I can't believe that guy couldn't kind of battle through it and make the weekend?
Charlie, it's a great question. I would look at it two ways. I would look at the player I'm most surprised didn't lean in and fight to the end, and he audibly expressed that he checked out, and that is Rory. And I was very bullish on him. I picked him to win the golf tournament.
As did I. We're a support group here.
Yeah. And so the fact that he said after 22 holes, he knew where he stood. Look, I get it. It's the human condition. And we know that, we all are susceptible to kind of checking out on things. And then on the flip side of that is a guy who has a chance to win today, who has virtually no record in major championships, and his major championship career is just beginning. It's the third full season that Sam Burns has played in all 4 majors in succession in a year, and he's coming off, his first top 10. The guy was 7 over par through 11 holes. I mean, if you would ever find yourself prey to being ready to check out and go, I'm out of this championship, forget winning it, I'm out of it. And for him to go from being essentially just inside the top 100 to being into the second to last group on a championship Sunday, that's the embodiment of grit.
I mean, I could not state that any better. I mean, just a guy that shoots 76 on Thursday, a guy that could just easily mail it in like Rory. Where am I going on vacation next? And sticks around and is here with a chance to win it. And by the way, a guy that is one of the best putters in the world, and on this sort of surface, this red fescue that is not a common feature for, as we just talked about, PGA Tour golf, where we went through a stretch where we were played, some really quick and firm and fast Bermuda at Pinehurst. Then we went to the Rocket Mortgage and the John Deere Classic on sort of a bent grass or a bent grass Poe mix. You get a week last week at the Scottish on red fescue, and then again here, it's not something that you can immediately sort of adjust to. Though, so to see Sam rolling the ball the way he is and in contention on a Sunday, that's the group Smylie has today. So tuning in here shortly to kind of see how that goes. Now, just on a big picture note here, how do you evaluate the test this week and just the course setup? And, I know there's been some form of critique about, should we have moved tees up? And to be honest, I don't know how you do that, because it's just bizarre to see, Siwoo Kim ace the 17th in perfect weather with the long iron in his hand, and then Shane Lowry hitting driver there to close out the day. Are there, the parts of this that maybe feel unfair? Are you okay with that being unfair this week because it is Open Championship golf?
Yeah, I'm more than okay with it. And I think that fair, unfair are 2 words that really don't even apply to the game of golf. I think they get kicked around. And I think that they're used in a kind of a weird, kind of almost reckless way. Like, well, what's fair? What's fair about hitting a round ball with an oblong stick? There's nothing fair about it. I mean, it's the game is just a kaleidoscope of vagary. I mean, that's what it is. And you get over there in these conditions that are constantly changing. I have no problem with this setup at all. They're all playing the same golf course. There's not one pin that you and I looked at and went, look at that. The ball was getting to within 2 feet of the hole, and then was retreating back off into, a greenside bunker. The yardages of the holes were the same for everybody. The par is just a number. And knowing that things can change as quickly as they do there, the challenge of setting up an Open Championship is difficult. And I have absolutely zero problem at all. As a matter of fact, this Open Championship, to me, Charlie, has represented why it's such a beautiful championship, because you just showed that full screen graphic of all of the big names that missed the cut. And then we have the likes of Tristan Lawrence and Dan Brown, who find themselves in this position. And then you have, the likes of a Russell Henley, Sam Burns, and Billy Horschel, who don't have much of a record at all in major championships. And then you have the specter of the number 1 player in the world, and the guy who's right there in Xander Schauffele, whose shadows cast very long. This is a beautiful representation of the Open Championship.
A kaleidoscope of vagary. The man is a wordsmith, Gary Williams. Thank you so much for taking the time today, Gary. Listen to him at 5 Clubs Golf. They're doing a phenomenal job there on PGA Tour Radio on Sirius XM. Gary, enjoyed out there today in South Bend. Thanks so much, buddy.
Thanks, Charlie. Great seeing you.